They say timing is everything, and Casablanca had it all. Perfect timing, perfect lighting, and a 25-second close-up that basically whispered, "Oscar, please," without blinking. It's been over 80 years, and somehow this wartime romance still makes hearts ache and idealists sigh. But let's be clear, Casablanca isn't just a love story. It's a whole thesis on sacrifice, survival, and standing up for something bigger than yourself, all while looking devastatingly good in a trench coat. Welcome to Real Talk, where we spill the tea on movies and all the madness in between, with wit, sass, and zero sugarcoating. Set during World War II, American expat Rick Blaine, Humphrey Bogart, owns a nightclub and gambling den in Casablanca. His clientele? A cocktail of Vichy French officers, Nazi officials, and desperate refugees trying to reach the still neutral US. Rick just so happens to possess the golden ticket, letters of transit that allow safe passage through Nazi-occupied Europe. Then walks in Ilse Lund, Ingrid Bergman, Rick's old flame, the one who ghosted him in Paris. And she doesn't stroll in solo. Nope, she's with her husband Victor Laszlo, Paul Henrade, a Czech resistance hero. Ilse asks Sam, the pianist, to play As Time Goes By. Rick storms over, furious that Sam disobeyed his standing order never to play that song again, and is stunned to see her. Cue the flashbacks. Paris, romance, rain, longing, but also abandonment, heartbreak, and one hell of a betrayal. Ilse left Rick high and dry just as the Nazis were closing in. Why? She later confronts him and confesses. When they met and fell in love in Paris, she believed Laszlo had died trying to escape a concentration camp. But he wasn't dead. He was alive, wounded, and needed her. So she vanished, leaving Rick with nothing but a last-minute goodbye note. Rick is bitter, Ilse is torn, Laszlo is noble, and they're all stuck in Casablanca where choices mean everything. Rick must decide, help Laszlo, a Czechoslovak resistance leader, escape, and lose Ilse forever. Or keep her for himself and let the world burn. On the surface, it's about love lost and found, and lost again. But dig deeper, and it's a story about three broken-hearted people trying to save more than their own hearts. They're choosing resistance over romance, hot, tragic, and wildly grown-up. This is Casablanca, a wartime moral epic disguised as a melodrama. In a world unraveling, these three choose ideals over impulse. They aren't just caught in a love triangle. They're tangled in duty, sacrifice, and the burden of doing the right thing, even when it costs everything. It's the ultimate question. Do you choose love, or what's right? Let's spill the real tea. Casablanca wasn't just about love and longing. It was propaganda. Yep. Beneath the trench coats and tear-stained goodbyes, this movie was pushing a wartime agenda. The US had just entered World War II, and Hollywood got cozy with the government to boost morale and rally support for the Allies. And what better way to sell sacrifice than with heartbreak, heroism, and Humphrey Bogart? Rick giving up Ilse so her freedom-fighting husband could escape? That's not just noble, it's cinematic recruitment. The film says, do the right thing, even if it hurts, and then wraps it in soft lighting and a foggy airport. And that anthem scene? Real refugees, real tears. So yeah, Casablanca is a propaganda piece. But she's dressed like a classic, talks like a poet, and kisses like she means it. Rick, our reluctant hero, starts off grumbling, "I stick my neck out for nobody." But spoiler, he absolutely does. He's jaded, emotionally constipated, and drunk in a tux 90% of the time. But underneath all that cynicism, a bleeding heart. He's the blueprint for every emotionally unavailable leading man who came after. He walks so the Don Drapers and Tony Starks could run. Rick drinks away his feelings, pretends not to care, and builds a wall taller than any Berlin one around, all while sipping whiskey in a tux and dropping, "Here's looking at you, kid." Then there's Ilse, torn between past and present, duty and desire. She always loved Rick, but Laszlo represents something bigger than love. Hope. Ingrid Bergman doesn't just act. She emotes through silence. In the film, when she hears Sam play As Time Goes By, the camera gives us that legendary 25-second close-up. No blinking, no speaking, just her eyes doing Shakespeare-level drama. The whole Paris flashback becomes one long emotional monologue without a single line, just unspoken devastation in real time. That wasn't just acting. That was a soul crack on camera. Director Michael Curtis knew what he had. Most scenes back then were snappy and fast, but not this one. He let the camera linger. Why? Because Bergman's face said it all. Regret, longing, love, loss, all packed into one uninterrupted take. Honestly, they should have handed her the Oscar right after that shot. And Laszlo? He's brave, principled, and yeah, about as spicy as plain toast. But he's absolutely vital. He's not here to flirt. He's here to fight fascism. His calm fire anchors the whole plot. He's the man who makes Rick and the audience realize that some people are worth sacrificing for. Together, they're not just tangled in love triangle. They're survivors in a world that's burning, trying to hang on to hope. No superpowers, no CGI explosions, just complex adults making painful, grown-up choices. And before anyone cries homewrecker, let's be real. Ilsa thought Laszlo was dead. Rick was her future until duty knocked on her door again. This wasn't scandal, it was survival. Dialogue in Casablanca? Iconic. It slaps without even trying. And that's why people still quote this movie like gospel. Every line lands like it was ghost-written by Heartbreak. No fluff, no filler, just raw, adult pain with killer timing. Casablanca didn't just deliver quotable moments. It handed us emotional blueprints. Here's looking at you, kid. A farewell, a love confession, and a gut punch. All in one. We'll always have Paris. A line that makes you believe love can outlive even war. And then there's this one. Of all the gin joints in all the towns, in all the world, she walks into mine. That's not just romantic. That's dramatic irony chain smoking in the corner while fate throws a drink. And then there's this little exchange between Ilsa and Rick that hits like a breakup ballad. When she says she understands how he feels, Rick scoffs. You understand how I feel? How long was it we had, honey? Ilsa's voice cracks. I didn't count the days. And Rick, wounded but still swinging. Well, I did, every one of them. Mostly I remember the last one. The wow finish. A guy standing on a station platform in the rain with a comical look on his face because his insides have been kicked out. Ouch. Who needs therapy when Rick Blaine is out here narrating your heartbreak? Even the side characters bring the heat. When Nazi Strasser asks Rick, "What is your nationality?" Rick just shrugs. I'm a drunkard. And Captain Renault? He seals it with, that makes Rick a citizen of the world. Every one-liner hits like a gut punch in lipstick. Witty, weary, and somehow still wildly romantic. These aren't just lines, they're emotional timestamps of a world on fire. And yet, they still feel sexy as hell. And let's not forget that satirical gold. When Major Strasser forces Captain Renault to shut down Rick's nightclub, pretending he had no idea gambling was going on. Renault bellows, I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here. As a casino dealer hands him a wad of cash. Your winnings, sir. Renault, without missing a beat. Oh, thank you very much. Then, loudly, everybody out at once. That's satire smoother than a silk ascot. And if that line, here's looking at you, kid, feels oddly familiar, oh yeah, that's because Mr. Big used to call Carrie Bradshaw kid. That's right. Sex and the City straight up lifted it from Casablanca. Mr. Big was serving classic movie suave, and suddenly it makes way more sense why our girl Carrie was so obsessed. She wasn't just dating a man, she was chasing a walking, talking Bogart fantasy. But let's be real. Rick said it with heartbreak in a trench coat. Mr. Big said it between gaslighting sessions and brunch cancellations. One was wartime nobility, the other was Upper East Side emotional damage. Same line, very different vibes. Bogart and Bergman? They didn't need fireworks. Sometimes it's the silence between them that says everything. No one talks, no one moves. They just look at each other like the world is ending. Because in their world, it kind of was. The camera doesn't rush. It lets the emotion breathe. The silence? It's louder than most screenplays. Their chemistry? Electric. Timeless. Proof that real love stories don't need steam. They need stakes. And that chemistry? It wasn't born in steamy kisses. It lived in the unsaid. In the shared looks. The ones that made you feel like you were intruding on something sacred. Add to that a script dripping with wit and soul, and you've got a connection that's burned into film history. The music? As Time Goes By wasn't just a song, it was the heartbeat of the film. That piano wasn't background. It was memory, longing, love, loss, all wrapped into melody. The aesthetic? Iconic. Lighting, camera angles, that foggy airstrip goodbye? It's visual poetry. Moody, noirish, and heartbreakingly romantic without trying too hard. Now for the behind-the-scenes tea. On-screen chemistry? Off the charts. Off-screen? Ice cold. Ingrid Bergman once said, "I kissed him, but I never knew him." So that magic? All performance. And here's the wild part. The script was being rewritten daily. Ingrid didn't even know who Ilsa would end up with during filming. Talk about emotional roulette. Extras in the La Marseillaise scene? Actual refugees? When they cried during filming, that wasn't acting. That was their real-life trauma surfacing. Casablanca was filmed and released during World War II. It hit theaters in 1942, right as the world was unraveling. Set in Morocco, but shot entirely in California. No dreamy North African sunsets, just fog machines, cardboard planes, and some soundstage wizardry. That legendary goodbye scene on the airstrip, shot indoors with a stepladder and a little smoke, and still, it felt real. And that La Marseillaise scene? It's not just patriotic, it's visceral. Many extras were Jewish refugees. When they sang that anthem in defiance of the on-screen Nazis, the tears, 100% real. So yeah, no fairy tale ending, no kiss in the rain, no we got back together montage, just a farewell on a foggy runway and a maybe friendship with a French cop. Rick lets her go, not because he wants to, but because he should. It's romantic, it's painful, it's mature, and somehow, it still leaves you with hope. "Here's looking at you, kid," said with trenchcoat gravitas and wartime heartbreak, and the kind of emotional repression only Bogart could pull off without blinking. So yes, Casablanca is a breakup movie. It's also a resistance film, a love letter to lost ideals, and a reminder that being broken doesn't mean being useless. It's smoky, cynical, heartbreaking, and iconic. Ingrid didn't blink for 25 seconds, but we've been wide-eyed for 8 decades. And honestly, we'll always have Casablanca. Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for more real talk, where we pull the curtain back on Hollywood's history.